Hi everyone, it's Sharon here, and I wanted to do a little video on authenticity. So, I have actually written a blog. It's on the website sharonlawson.co.uk that goes into this subject in a bit more detail. But I wanted to just talk a little bit about authenticity today because it's a global overarching theme for this year. The search for our authentic self is something we could do at any time and it's always valuable. It just happens that it's a theme for this year. And there's a very good reason for that as well. And that is purely because as we move into the Great Awakening, we have to really truly know ourselves and what our definitions are of who we are and what we are, and not walk into it with old identities, old ways of thinking, old ways of viewing the world. It has to come purely from authenticity, from our heart space as well. So we're doing this work to make life easier and to create solutions that maybe we've never had access to, and we can only do that from our authentic self. So it's a really lovely process. Like, I hope everyone is enjoying it in the membership because we started in October. We're going to be discussing it in December. And, it really is a hand on heart process, literally, not figuratively, of really putting our hands on our hearts and saying, is this truly me? Now, I say this in the blog as well, but I really found it quite amusing because if you are in a family where you all got shared values, you've all got shared interests, there's a lot of group cohesion, then the authenticity work is actually harder. It makes for a nicer, more harmonious life, but it's actually a lot harder. But if you're like me, and many people on the spiritual path are, we're not like our families. We don't have a shared interest. We don't have shared values even. And so the authenticity process is much easier. There's less family harmony. But the bonus side is that we authentically know what's ourselves. And so there's a lot of parts of authenticity. So we look at our values, we look at our characteristics that we know are truly us, that is not our conditioning. It didn't come from parents, it didn't come from family values, it's not a family trait, it's not based on nostalgia, it's not something that maybe even you share with other friends. Maybe you do, maybe you don't. But you know it's completely and utterly you. And part of the reason you know it's completely and utterly you is that it's so enduring. And if someone says to you, oh, I'm not sure I like that, it doesn't sway you. It doesn't change your opinion on it. It doesn't make you think, oh, they don't think that's so interesting or great. Maybe I should change. You won't change it for anybody because that is who you are. And you couldn't change it even if you wanted to change it, is the way I look at it. And I know people, we talk a lot as well in the membership about how we adapt. We create these adaptations to our personality to fit in, to belong, to get approval from parents or teachers or colleagues or whatever. So we do a lot of these adaptations. Our minds do these adaptations. But as adaptations, these changes are not permanent, because if we could go back to our authentic self, go back to our authentic soul, these are just always there. They don't go anywhere. They're part of our soul. So even with the adaptations, all you have to do is unhook the adaptation, notice it, unhook it, and then we return back to our authentic self, because it's always there. It can't really leave us. Well, it can't leave us. So this is why some of these traits, values, qualities, passions are enduring. You loved it when you were a kid and you still love it now. That part hasn't changed, right? And so I have got quite a lot of these traits, and I can really see mine relatively clearly. And I know they're just me because I literally don't share them with anybody else. I don't share them with my family. I don't share it with my husband. I don't share it with my friends. These are things that I love, and I bring everyone else along with me, or I do them by myself, or I do them with other groups. So I know they're me because it doesn't really matter what anyone says or does. I'm still going to go ahead and enjoy that process, enjoy that activity. If you are very much like your family, if you share the same values and you have this lovely family harmony, which obviously is beautiful, you have harder work to do because you then have to unpick what's inherited, what's a shared value because it's been inherited from a parent, or there's some nostalgia because of activities you did together, and you don't want to come out of that nostalgia or that out of that activity and say maybe that's not me. And so there's a greater pressure within that within that trait or value or activity, because you've done it. You may have done it and enjoyed. You may have done it your whole life, but did you choose it? And this is where authenticity. Did you? Are you just going along with it, or is it your authentic self? Is this something you would choose to do, even if it was just you who was doing it? And so there is more uncovering to be done, because often, obviously, parents, they share their interests with their children, and that's a very nice and lovely thing. But sometimes we need to figure out, is this really me though? And we just have to ask the question. So I have a lot of traits that have endured and are mine alone, and things like is that I really like whodunits. I love Poirot, I love Agatha Christie stories. I don't like thrillers or anything scary, but I do love a whodunit. And it's partially because it is attached to an authentic trait that I have. And my authentic trait is that I do not like a question unanswered. It is very much an authentic trait. I have a very curious nature. I like learning. I like knowledge. I like to understand. And I don't like a question that has not been answered. So whodunit, great for me, because eventually the murderer is revealed, right? So I just really enjoy them. And I enjoy most versions of them, but usually in an Agatha Christie style. And it's just because I do love that old era as well, that a lot of her novels are set in. So that's an authentic trait, and it's an authentic passion. And even if everyone tells me they hate Death in Paradise and they can't see why anybody watches it, I don't really care. I love a whodunit, and it's in the Poirot style, and you're not going to change my opinion on it because it's authentically what I love. Sociology is another one. From a very young age, I was always interested in the questions of the meaning of life, but also just looking around. I have a very strong sense of fairness and equality that really doesn't come from my family in any shape or form. And they will tell you this too, that it's purely a Sharon trait. And even when I studied sociology at A level, my sociology teacher told me emphatically to my face that I must not do a straight degree in sociology because I will never get a job from it. And I didn't really care because I loved it so much, and I didn't want to dilute it by doing a different subject. Now, within a degree in sociology, you also do psychology, you do international relations, you can do lots of other things as well. So it didn't really bother me. But I could not be persuaded to do anything else, and I could not be persuaded to dilute it either. And that interest in how could society be fairer, how could society be different, how could it be more inclusive, is something I hold to this day, and it has never changed and it has never wavered. And I'm still asking the same questions on how can we make life better for everyone. So that is a purely my trait. My family don't have it. My husband doesn't have it. My friends don't have it. It's a purely Sharon trait, right? So there are certain things that are enduring. Another one that I mentioned in the blog, so I won't say too much about it now, but another one is my love of wild animals. I have a passing interest in domesticated animals, but that's not really where my passion lies. My passion is really about being near to and just really seeing animals in the wild and being with animals in the wild. And it is always it is endured. It's still one of my favorite things in life. If somebody gives me an animal to hold, or if I can get near enough to stroke an animal, I would. I'd probably try and stroke a wild animal that other people would consider to be dangerous. I just have that urge within me, and I know that's an authentic trait. So it is quite fun to uncover certain parts of ourselves, and also just to appreciate and then also nurture it. So for example, I really love art. I love photography. I love lots of things around those subjects, and part of that is I have an absolute part of my authentic self, and because it's a heart trait, is I love beauty. I love to seek out ordinary beauty in everyday life. So therefore, I want to photograph it. I love nature, and there's a lot of beauty in nature. And so, knowing this about myself, I provide myself with opportunities on a daily, weekly basis, monthly basis, yearly basis to have that part of me fulfilled. And so it is about noticing. It's about being sort of a bit more vigorous with ourselves and making sure this is truly us. Or hand on heart is just the other way of actually saying, is this really me, and finding the truth in that. And then taking some action to really sort of allow your life to be filled up with these things that you really enjoy, that really lights you up, that really fulfills you. And, we can share our passions with others. Once we know it's our authentic self, we can obviously widen that group, join groups, share your passions with your friends and family if they are interested in it. But really, the first part is figuring out who you are and then moving that into a collective group environment. So, yeah, I hope people who are looking at their own authenticity at the moment are enjoying the process. I found it to be highly entertaining, really insightful in many ways, to recognize these parts of myself that most of them I knew, some of them I wasn't so sure about. I did go back and double check, is it really me? And also just trying to find new and exciting ways on how to bring this more into my life, so that obviously if it's authentically ourselves, we can enjoy things that is authentically us. So how can we bring more of this into our lives so that our lives feel fulfilled, feel that we are in alignment with who we are? So yeah, that's it really. Just say, have a great time with your authenticity journey, and let me know, what do you discover about your authentic self?